Hey guys, Lord here, back again with another action figure review. Today I'll be taking a look at the Four Horsemen Studios Figura Obscura Masque of the Red Death, the latest installment in the Figura Obscura line, brought to us by the fine folks over at Four Horsemen Studios. Definitely fitting the spooky season, if I do say so myself, because last year we got the Headless Horseman, who's of course a Washington Irving character. Masque of the Red Death here is, of course, a Edgar Allan Poe character, and I'm curious if we'll get a Stephen King or maybe Bram Stoker, Mary Shelley character at some point in this line. Really, I don't see the point of them doing a Dracula per se, but it would be cool to get a really awesome ogre-scale Frankenstein monster. Because I don't really think you can fit that into Mythic Legions or Cosmic Legions. It's kind of a nice meshing of the two. And, you know, we've got plenty of vampires in Mythic Legions. You could just make a Dracula at this point. And, you know, a lot of other Halloween-related characters, werewolves, witches, ghosts, and whatnot, we've been getting or are going to get at some point in the future. So I think a Frankenstein monster would be the next best thing as far as a kind of spooktacular offering for the Figura Obscura line. But that's just my 2 cents, right? That said, let's cut right to the chase and get into the meat and taters of this review, taking a look at Masque of the Red Death's accessories, starting off with a plethora of alternate hands. So, first and foremost, he's got these very aggressive looking, kind of wider grip hands. You can see the claws there, almost as long as mine. I need to clip those, but there is that. We also get 2 different kinds of grip hands. We get this pair, which have the in and out hinge. So you get those. And then we also get this pair, which has the up and down hinge. Now, really, we just needed these. It would have been nice to get some fist hands, maybe, but I don't really think this character needs to punch anyone in the throat, so that seems kind of pointless. As well as having 2 different grip hands with different hinges. I don't know. I don't see the point of that. I think if you have the up and down hinge, you're good to go. But, you know, some people do utilize the other kind of hinge, so, you know, to each their own. Even though that's not the right way to hold anything. What are you going to do? That said, he comes with a dagger, but this isn't exactly meant for him. This is more or less meant for other characters to try and stab him and get totally cucked out in the process. So, for what it's worth, he comes with a dagger, but I guess you could put this with another character. Don't have a whole lot of Victorian-style characters to put this with, but you do get that. Is it Victorian era, Masque of the Red Death? I almost think it's closer to like the bubonic plague in the Dark Ages as opposed to, we'll say, Charles Dickens's A Christmas Carol. That said, we get one of the coolest accessories, I think, with this big old honkin' grandfather clock. Like, this thing is awesome. It's got this little Beelzebub down here who's ready to go at it with Tenacious D and a rock-off. It's got this removable front piece, so you can pop that off. I don't know if this comes out. Kind of don't think it does, but you do get this removable face, or kind of, it looks more like a window, to be honest with you. Be careful when you take it out of the box, though. You don't want to monkey up these 2 things on the top, these 2 little prong thingies, because I will tell you, it is packaged in there pretty tight. But if you take this little Raven guy, which I can only assume is a nod to Edgar Allan Poe, because, of course, quoth the Raven nevermore, you can plug this thing up here, and it does kind of hold it on. But I will tell you, this can be easier said than done to get in there. There you go. You kind of heard that little squeak there. But the beak of the raven actually does a good job of holding that in. That little face piece. So if you just give it a good push, you can push it in there all the way. And this is not going to come off. It's already a pretty snug fit, but not a super tight to where you got to worry about breaking it fit. But that raven head there does help hold it in place. That said, we also have the base, which has little skeleton feet on it. So if I can get this on the right way, I will do that quick. Again, like the raven's head, it could be easier said than done. I think I got it. That said, I think the base is made out of PVC, so I don't think I gotta worry about busting the feet off, but there you go. I think this piece actually comes off, this big kind of square piece here, but mine is on it. It's on there pretty good, and I don't want to take it off, so I'm not gonna. Common sense, who'd have thought? But there you go, there's the grandfather clock. It's pretty tall even compared to him. I just give you a quick scale comparison there. It's actually off cam. That said, what would make it even taller, you might ask? How about this blood splatter effect? Now, to my understanding, the Red Death kind of arises out of this. I'm kind of bummed there isn't little pegs for him, though. I wish they put little pegs on here just to, you know, help support the figure. He doesn't have a problem standing, but, you know, you bop the shelf, he'll go for a ride. Just saying. But you could take this and you can snap it onto this effect here. But again, it takes a lot of lining up and whatnot, and I'm not sure I'll be able to do it here. I'm gonna do my due diligence. I've got it together this far. I gotta go the whole 9 yards and see if I can't line it up just right. And it doesn't look like that's gonna happen right now. I'm not doing a very good job of it. There we go. Righty, there. Just gotta make sure it's on there nice and tight. But that said, you could take all this apart and put it away if you want. That said, for my Halloween display, which I will hopefully post this year, I didn't do it last year, shame, I will most likely be using this whole thing. This is really cool. I really like this. This is an awesome piece. If you have it off to the side like that, you can have him kind of standing. Do a quick little example here. You can have him standing right here in the puddle of blood coming out of it. Like that. That's some straight up Slayer shiznit right there. That's friggin' awesome. So I really do like that. That said, like most Figura Obscura releases, it's not just about what you get with the figure, it's what you get with the packaging. And this guy comes with some pretty slick packaging, so if I just move him off to the side here, hopefully he doesn't take a tumble. Here's the box for the Masque of the Red Death here. I'm going to try and make this review as short as possible, but it's the Four Horsemen product and it's Figura Obscura. These reviews tend to run a little long, so bear with me here. But there you have a nice image of that skull mask on the front. Get a brief little, kind of a shortened version of the story on the back. And then, of course, when you open it up, you take the box out, you get this cool little diorama here, which has all these rich mother truckers living in the limelight, you know, acting like there's absolutely nothing that could possibly go wrong at this party. Which joke's on you, buddy. And then here's a look at the packaging without that wraparound on it. And to top it all off, the Horsemen did something a little different with this Figura Obscura release, which is something I kind of wish they did with the previous one, which of course was Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, who I have not gotten around to reviewing yet, but I will someday. I do have him, and he is awesome. That said, they gave us a mini comic a la Masters of the Universe. You know, that's something that's a little bit more popular with especially the Origins line, but back in the 80s, during the vintage Masters of the Universe days, you got a mini comic with each figure, and it was unique to that character. We get that here, and I'm hoping this is something they do moving forward, or at least once in a while when it's something a little bit more obscure, like especially the Monkey King. I'm not familiar with that at all. I know Masque of the Red Death because of the Vincent Price movie, but the character design's way different in that. And I also have the Mego Masque of the Red Death based off that movie, so, you know, take that for what it's worth. But you get a nice little version of the Masque of the Red Death story here, and I'm going to flip through it a little bit just so you can appreciate some of the artwork courtesy of Nate Barch in here. But it's a nice little short story that ends absolutely horribly, but you know what? Not gonna lie, I do wish a apparition of death would come and punk out the corrupt elite in the real world, but unfortunately that's not happening anytime soon. My thoughts on that aside, you can find audio versions of Masque of the Red Death on good old YouTube, so I will actually post a link in the description below to the version I watched. That's really, really good. It's about 15 minutes. So if you don't got 15 minutes, I don't know. You don't take breaks at work, or you never take a crap. So, I mean, literally, you can take a crap in 15 minutes. And I know it takes some people about that long to do so. You know, that's kind of gross, but so is creepy, decaying red entities of death. Like this guy. So, Masque of the Red Death here. Hopefully you can see him and it's not too dark. I'm going to adjust the lighting as I do in all my videos, but this is definitely one of the figures of the year. I don't even need to think about it. It's one of the figures of the year. It's awesome looking. He is heavy metal as all get out. And for the most part, 100% unique parts. Aside from some of the disc hinges in the elbows, the wrists, maybe the ankle joints, and of course the knee joints and the hip joints, maybe the crotch. Okay, so he does have quite a few parts we may have seen before, but you know, they're construction parts, not aesthetic parts. This guy, I think, has an all-new buck, which is this zombie kind of decaying flesh buck, and you could see a lot of that detail on the arm here. Now, I will say, it's a fully painted figure underneath all these robes, but to be quite frank with you, these are a pain in the nuts to take off. You got to pop off both arms and the head, slide them off. It's two pieces. The hood and these little draperies that hang over his shoulders is actually one piece stitched onto the under skirt, whatever you want to call it there, the robe that is the closest to his body, and then this kind of toga robe, the way it hangs, it kind of reminds me of a toga, is a separate piece that you can pop off. Just slips right off. It's very nice soft goods. I like it a lot. I think they did a great job, and I'll show you what I can of this body underneath, but I am not going to take these robes off because for all extensive purposes, these things are a pain in the neck to get on. I already took them off twice to, you know, check the articulation and kind of adjust things to my liking, and I kind of don't feel like doing that again. So, you know, if you want to watch a video where someone goes through the trouble of doing that, I'm sure you can find plenty here on good old YouTube. I know Dorklair was the first one to review this figure, and he did a pretty good job of showcasing everything this guy has to offer. Much better than anything I can do, let's be honest. That said, as far as articulation goes, let me pull this hood back. He's got a disc hinge, everybody. Like, that's new. It's kind of hard to use, so I'm going to pop his head off because that's actually not very tight on there. But he's got a disc hinge. but I will say the hinge is very tight. And the head is not the tightest on the ball peg, which I don't mind. It's not loose, per se, like you heard it snap on. It just, when you go to use this disc hinge, it just kind of pops off in the process of doing it. That said, you can rotate the head, you can get a lot of toot out of it, and it can look up and down without that hinge. That said, if you wanted to make this guy extra creepy looking, you could hunch him all the way forward, pull this hood up, like so, and give him an exaggerated kind of hunchback. That's pretty cool. If this figure was taller, I would probably display him that way. But since he's not lingering over anybody, per se, he's about average height as far as Four Horsemen figures go. I'm going to leave it like this, but it does look really cool with the hunch. That said, the shoulders, it's the same as any, Four Horsemen figure. They have the disc hinge there. You can hinge it out to the side and rotate it and whatnot. Very tight joints on this guy, too. Just trying to pop that down is kind of tricky. He's got a single joint in the elbow, and check this out. Look at how much range you get out of a single jointed elbow. You don't need double joints all the time, people. Look at that. Look at how clean that looks. It's a little gappy down here, but that's going to happen. And maybe that's just mine. That's a possibility. But you do get a really good bend out of that. And you do get a swivel as well. It just goes to show you, sometimes less is more. I mean, that's better than some double elbows we've been seeing in the Masterverse line, if I'm being quite honest with you. That said, his hands do rotate and hinge. And unlike some of the Cosmic Legion's 2.0 builds, you can pop the hands right out, no problem. I know the Cosmic Legion's Book 1, or whatever they called it there, Alcatar, or as a Hazar. I know some of those 2.0 figures, the wrist pegs broke when you tried to pop them out. But this guy doesn't seem to have that problem, so that is good. That said, he does have a waist twist. That does work pretty well. It's a little looser than I would like, but it's got so much stuff going on. It doesn't really matter. And then he does have a ball peg, which, again, a little looser than I'd like, but again, he's got so much stuff going on, it doesn't really matter to me. That said, if I can get these little thingies out of the way here, I'm going to try and lift his skirt up and show you what's underneath here. So getting close and personal with Red Death here. Sorry about that, buddy. What do you care? You're an apparition of death. You can just kill me afterwards. Let me slip this up. I will tell you, be careful with these soft goods. They don't feel cheap or anything, but they do have the fraying on the edges, so you don't want to tear those when you're trying to mess with this guy. That said, getting this up high enough to where you can see the waist right here. I think we did a pretty good job at that. Look at that. He's got a new waist kind of belt piece with this tattered cloth piece. I'm surprised this isn't soft goods, to be honest with you, but it's fine. Gets the job done. It should be worth noting he's got a boom boom hole right there, so you could put a tail on this guy if you want. Make him a demonic, like a black demonic entity of evil or something. I mean, he kind of already is, isn't he? But that's pretty cool. But as far as the leg articulation goes, you could kick out, back down. I will tell you, I'm not gonna butts with this too much because the joints are really tight and I want them to stay that way. So for all extensive purposes, he's got all the range you could want in the hips. They can move forward and back. Really tight joints on this guy. I love this. This is what I want from Four Horsemen. Some of the figures I got in the past year have been a little loose for my liking. This guy is freaking perfect. More of this, please. He's got thigh cut. Again, really tight there. It's even tighter on this side. You can hear that, man. Like, holy cow. But again, I'm not planning on moving him a lot, so I'm okay with that. But yeah, it's really, really tight. But it works, and it doesn't feel like it's going to break. He's got a single knee, which again, I want to show you the max range, but I'm trying to find the looser joint. There we go, that's the looser one. You get about 90 plus degrees out of that. That's not bad for a single knee. He's got swivel and the below the knee. And then as far as the ankles go, he's got a swivel right there. I will tell you, if I can pop this out without messing it up, the ankle pegs appear to be 2.0, if I'm not mistaken. If they're not, they might be. They kind of look like goblin pegs, if I'm being honest. But they do appear to be a little smaller, and they are sculpted. So all you McFarlane Toys fans out there should love this. He's got the sculpted ankle balls. That said, one trick I do to kind of have these be tight is I'd flip them around, but you can't really do that here. Thankfully, his feet aren't too loose, but he does have the ankle hinge with the rocker there. And he does have the exposed toes and peg holes at the bottom of the feet for a stand if you want to hook him up with one. You don't have to, of course. He can stand okay on his own, but pulling his skirts back down, because nobody wants to see this guy's business, I'm sure. But yeah, man, definitely one of my favorite figures of the year. Look at how messed up his robes are. I messed them up pretty good, didn't I? Not in an unfixable way, thankfully. But yeah, I really had to work that out. Now imagine if I took them off. We'd still be sitting here messing with this figure, but there you go. There he is with his robes back down where they're supposed to be. And for safe measure, I'll flip the little tail up on the back just so he can stand against the background there. But that's Red Death in a nutshell, man. There is something underneath that mask of his, and we're going to take a look at that at the end in case you don't want any spoilers. That way you don't got to fast forward through anything in the review. But we will be taking a look at what is underneath that mask. And I hope you guys are ready for that, because it's pretty terrifying, I'm not going to lie. It's some total gore fest shiznit under that mask. So with all that being said, I can get him situated here. He is all kinds of messed up. I'm going to have to straighten him out off cam. But with all that being said, let's now move right along and take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here is good old Masque of the Red Death alongside a couple other Figura Obscura offerings from the fine folks over at Four Horsemen Studios that kind of fit the spooky theme, much like he does. First up, we have the Headless Horseman, who was actually my figure of the year for the calendar year 2022. Those of you watching this in the future. And of course, we have the first Figura Obscura offering ever, the Black Krampus, who made it onto my top figures of the year video, but I don't remember exactly where he placed, because that was a big year. We got the Arethyr wave, which of course had my boy Belphegor and Arethyr himself in it. We got the Kickstarter spawn that year, the Neck of Goliath, that amazing Spawn Universe Violator Mega figure, which you can buy for $30 on Amazon right now. Not just because it's Prime Days, but because it's just on sale. I mean, wow. Talk about a bang for your buck. But still a great piece nonetheless. And a figure that my good buddy Just Monesto 2 thinks is a little bit better than Masque of the Red Death here. But cut him some slack, fellas. He's new to the Legion's game. He doesn't have all the parts that yours truly has. So at the end of the day, I get it, but I have to respectfully disagree. And it's okay to disagree with each other and still be friends afterwards. Maybe not with sports and politics, but at least with toys. You know, they're just toys. Come on. Don't be that guy on Facebook that's literally devoting their life to toys. Come on. Come on. But getting these two out of the way. Hopefully standing them up behind camera here, because that can be kind of tricky. Bringing in an actual Mythic Legions figure. Here he is with Brother Mandibulus from the Advent of Decay. When's this guy going to get an all-star release? I feel like it should be soon, because we got Malleus. Same with Morgulith. I feel like she deserves an all-star at this point, too, because we're getting Necronominimus very, very soon. Which, by the way, Masque of the Red Death here kind of fits that theme, doesn't he? And of course, we have the infamous 11 Spawn, and I can respectfully say that Masque of the Red Death here definitely is a premium member of the Red and Black Club. I mean, seriously, his skin is black, his cloak is red. You don't get any more devoted than that. I mean, look at what Spawn's doing over there. So, with all that being said, it's time to wrap things up. Some final thoughts. Overall, and yeah, man, what else do I gotta say about this figure that hasn't already sold you on it at this point in this review? If you don't have it, you need it. If you didn't get it when it was available from Four Horsemen, you better get it sooner rather than later, because I can only see this thing going up in value, because it is one killer piece. This thing looks like it came straight out of a King Diamond album from the mid-'80s. It's flippin' amazing. I friggin' love it, and I can't say enough good things about it. I mean, look at the face on that thing. It literally looks like the skull mask is melting off its head. Speaking of which, before we wrap this review up, there's one last thing we need to do first. And as promised, here's a look at the man behind the mask. Not to be confused with one of my favorite Alice Cooper songs of all time, from Friday the 13th Part 6, was it? Jason Returns or Jason Lives, something like that. Here we have the Masque of the Red Death without his mask, with a little screaming Mimi face in there. It looks like he's got a little mini-me in there, which I'm hoping that my camera is picking this up. Let me just make sure I'm focused here. It looks like that's as good as it's going to get, folks. So hopefully you can see in there. You can see his little screaming Mimi face. Looks like there's a few. Kind of reminds me of the Chest of Souls from Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 3, the Dream Warriors. Anyone remember that music video from Dokken? A lot of 80s metal references in this video. But there you go. There's the Masque of the Red Death unmasked. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this review. And until next time, I will catch you guys later.